Hello, everyone. My name is Tom Shen. I applied internal medicine. And I matched my #1 in the DMV 4 years in the making, George Washington University.
Theo Sher, and on deck, Hassan Usmani. Dr. Thomas Shen.
Yep, that's right. That is me. I apologize for the crappy footage, but this was the best that I could download and cut from the 2 live streams, which I will link in the description. I did a thing. Quite a few, actually. And I'm low-key proud of myself. What's going on, guys? My name's Sfastest. Thanks for tuning in, and welcome to another Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 gameplay commentary. It's been more than 4 whole months since my last commentary, which was at the very beginning of this year, covering 2024 recap. I know at that time I keep saying that phrase that at almost every single commentary that I was going to put out another one in another month or a couple of weeks, but I just have not been able to have the free will, the time, the conditions to actually sit down and find things to talk about. And I'll get to that a little bit later. So today, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to do it. The end of medical school, whose highlights were the match and graduation. In the background are going to be 9 Moab streaks. The first one's going to be a 16 on Bakara. The second one's going to be a 17 on Mission, and then I picked the wrong fight against an LMG user. The third one's going to be a 19 on Resistance, running the support package, and I get a level 1 to join my lobby. The fourth one's going to be a 19 on Terminal, with my friend Devious Being getting moab at the end of the game. The fifth one's going to be a 22 on Hard Hat TDM. The sixth one's going to be a 22 on Village. The seventh one's going to be a 23 on Mission when I get ruined by a dead man's hand. The eighth one's going to be an 18 on Resistance when I was frustrated with starting my streak pretty late and the game ending early. And the ninth one's going to be a 19 on Terminal with the M4 and the game ended. As you have seen in the intro clips, there were 2 big news stories in my life that I didn't really publicly explain and share on YouTube until now. I just didn't really have the time to sit down and reflect on things and give you an extended commentary. And the reason was the whole February I was pretty sick. I think I caught the RSV or the flu. I don't know which one it was, but it took me out for basically the whole month. And then the first half of March was pre-residency training, where I had to be back at school. And then the match week, which was the 3rd week of March, and that was done, partly here in Maryland and partly in Tampa. And then the last week of March was the final exam and wrap up for the select portion of my degree. And then the week after that, it was packing up my apartment in Pennsylvania, moving back home, which took quite a few days and a lot of exhausting days. At the same time, I was trying to find housing in DC for upcoming residency. And then the week after that, I took an international trip for the majority of April, which I will get to in an upcoming commentary video. And then I flew back to the US with absolutely crazy jet lag for a whole week before going to Tampa for the whole last week as of recording this video. So it's been a lot for me. But we're going to unpack, the big news. So the first big thing, in March, I matched into a residency program. Second big news, I matched into a residency program that is near where I'm from, so the DMV area, with all the family and friends to support me. And the third big news, I matched into my #1 program, which is the internal medicine residency at the George Washington University. And for those of you who are not in the medical field, you might not really understand what the match is, so let me break it down for you for the whole process. In March of every year, medical students like me go through a system that's called the National Resident Matching Program to determine where people like me will do residency training after graduation. And the overwhelming majority of programs in the US participate in the NRMP, as it's called. So to us, the NRMP is gospel. Now, you might be wondering, why don't you just straight practice out of medical school? And the reason is, you get your MD degree, and the reason is getting an MD degree is not enough, because you have to do residency in order to practice independently, which is the whole point of becoming a doctor. So in this process, students rank their preferred residency programs that they've interviewed at, and then the programs rank the students that they liked from the interviews. The NRMP then sorts these lists, which matches students to programs in a student-facing algorithm with the program's choices. And the NRMP has a whole video explaining this algorithm, so today I will not get into this. I'll link it down in the description. And these results are binding for everyone who is involved. So it's not like you can cross-shop offers and pit them against each other in a normal job interview situation. What you get is what you get. And this algorithm determines the fate for the next 3 to 7 years of graduating doctors on where they'll continue their medical training. And when I was creating my rank lists, I really created it by kind of prestige, and then location, I think, is number one, and also just, the availability of resources and the camaraderie of the people in there. I've always wanted to return to the DC area and train at a well-known university hospital, and GW was, basically one that fit the bill. And when I interviewed there, I just felt like I got along very well with the faculty and the residents. And then I attended a second look day, which I visited in person, and I really liked what I saw. Their culture, their resources, their facilities really cater to the things that I'm looking for in the kind of medicine that I want to practice. And I'm definitely lucky to be able to match my number one, because I know there are quite a few classmates and friends of mine who did drop down on their rank lists, especially in competitive specialties. But all those years worrying about whether I will be able to return home for the most grueling years of my life thus far ended with this. And so I'm very excited to start my chapter in a place that I can call home. With that out of the way, the final big news: as of Thursday, May 8th, 2025, I'm officially a doctor of medicine. It's actually kind of crazy to think that 4 years ago, April 30th, 2021 to be exact, I was lost, I was dejected, I doubted myself, and I just did not see the light of day in my career. At that time, I was thinking to myself, I was 24 years old at the time, and I needed to get something solid going. And I was between a research PhD program at my alma mater and going to a Caribbean island for medical school. And neither of these options were great options. It's very easy to see now, with the benefit of hindsight, that I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. But I was very stressed at the time, and I didn't know what to do. That very afternoon, I got the call that I was accepted to the University of South Florida Marconi College of Medicine. That changed my life, but I didn't realize that at the time. I remember texting my friend Kip, who was the first to know about this news, and, it did not really feel real for at least a couple of weeks. It took, almost a month to sink in, to be honest. And that's how I feel now as I'm uploading and recording this video 4 years later. Right now I'm sitting in the same room as I did 4 years ago, trying to think about, wrap my head around everything that has happened and what this means now. But, with all that, I want to say, during the 2 years in Tampa, Florida, and the 2 years in Allentown, Pennsylvania, I've gone through a lot of ups and downs. Learning about the basic sciences, clinical knowledge applicable to medicine, honing my history taking, physical exams, clinical decision making, teamwork, skills, communications, and, participating in a lot of things that I really care about. It really shaped who I am today. It shaped how I view things, how I think about myself, how to communicate and everything. Just as important is understanding my strengths and weaknesses and what I want out of a future life and career. And it just so happened that these, combined with my personality, were very suited to internal medicine. And through my experiences at, MCOM, I'm very glad that I found IM to be my strength. And I'm so fortunate to be in a position to pursue that. I know this opportunity does not come easy, especially compared to some of my classmates. And I'm determined to make every experience count. What's more important is that for the next 3 years, I'll be returning home to train at a great program. To be honest, I view college as a stepping stone to medical school, and medical school as a stepping stone to residency back home, hopefully. And from day one of medical school, I've wanted to come home, and I was so neurotic about this possibility or lack thereof, as I perceived at the time, that it basically clouded, my judgment and clouded my perception of my school. It was so bad that I aired my doubts to the Dean of Student Affairs and kind of in no uncertain terms asked her about how other programs perceive our students. And many years later, I'm very fortunate to receive interviews and eventually match at a program in the DMV. So I don't know, man. It's been a really long journey, and I'm really glad that it worked out. And that's really the reflections that I have so far. I feel like the more I think about this in the coming weeks, the more I have to say. But I just want to say that this degree means so much more than just the 2 letters MD. It's the culmination of 10 years of hard work, 3 cycles of medical school applications, 2 of which were failed, and so much personal toil. I could not have done this without the support of my entire family, who have sacrificed so much for me. They encourage me along the way. They keep telling me that you could do this, put in the time, and keep at it, and never give up. I also owe my successes to my professors, classmates, doctors who I've had the pleasure of working with, attendings, residents, patients who have taught me so much. Most importantly, on a personal note, I'm really indebted to each and every one of you who watch me here on YouTube. I remember putting out the video back in July of 2021 about how it's a new chapter that will not be able to post much content as before, because I feared that I didn't have enough time and energy. What I could not predict was that old friendships were strengthened and new ones were made in these 4 years in the world of COD. COD was my outlet. Because of you. You supported me. You listened to me. You've shown traits that I want to model in my future. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being those who I look up to and look forward to every day. That's pretty much it for this video. Thanks for watching. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to like this video, share this with your friends, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll see you on the next one.
Bonus achieved. Securing A.
I'm so dead. Oh! Woo! Dude, he gets so his ass. Alright, I was on like a streak. Maybe like a 14 or something.